if you've got a guitar handy, go ahead and grab it. And we'll be playing some suspended chords in a second. First, I want you to just hear what they sound like. Here's a D chord, right? Here's a D suspended. This is also a D suspended. The first one was a D suspended 4. It has the higher sounding note up here. D suspended 2, surprise, surprise, has a lower sounding note. Both of them are suspended chords. Here's an A suspended. Here's a regular A chord. Here's another A suspended. A suspended 4, regular A major chord, A suspended 2. You'll notice that these chords sound kind of floaty. They're used a lot in, like, if you listen to like a new age, like, I think of it as like the background music for like Rob's Zen Center, like, welcome to Rob's Zen Center, you know, where we are neither happy nor sad, we simply are. I grew up in California, so we heard a lot of this kind of thing. And they're used a lot in music to create tension and resolution. You go to the suspended for tension, then you resolve it back to the major chord or the minor chord. And I think learning a little bit about how they're constructed, how a suspended chord is like put together, helps to illuminate something I think very fundamental about how chords make us feel, okay? So check this out. First of all, a suspended chord takes what's called the third in your chord, which is one of the 3 notes that makes up a major or minor chord, and it replaces it with another note. And this third, I think of it as like the emotional heart of your chord. The third, whether it's major or minor, are 2 different notes that are side by side. They're just 1 fret apart, a half step apart. That third determines whether your chord sounds basically happy or sad. That's the way we process these notes in Western music. Back 2,000 years ago, people thought that minor chords sounded warlike, aggressive. We tend to think of them as sounding sad. Here's a major chord. Here's a minor chord. You can feel that emotion sink when you go down to the minor chord. So we're taking that third and we're replacing it with something else. And in doing so, we kind of remove that happy or sad quality to the chord and turn it into this kind of floaty chord that just exists. It's the Zen Center chord. And let me show you now where we can find those 2 notes that we can suspend the chord with. And we're going to use an A major chord. So you all know how to play an open A major, right? Those 3 notes all in a row on the 2nd fret. And in order to suspend a chord, the first thing you need to do is find out where the third is in your chord. Every major chord has a first, a third, and a fifth in it. Do, re, mi, fa, so. So 1, 3, 5. That's the 1, 3, and 5 that make up an A major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just assigning numbers to the major scale there. And the 1, 3, 5 are the 3 notes that make up the major chord. So we're looking for the 3, 1, 3, yeah. So we're looking for that note. And an easy way to do that, a great shortcut for finding the third in whatever chord you're grabbing, is to think, well, what do I do to change this chord to minor? Or if you're grabbing a minor chord, what do I do to this chord to change it to a major chord? And just keep in mind, you might be shuffling more than 1 finger around as you change from major to minor, but for most of the like open cowboy chords that we play, we're only going to be changing 1 note to change it from major to minor. And that's true of the A chord. That's part of the reason why I chose it. So if we look at our A major chord, when we change to an A minor chord, look at the notes that you're fretting. Which note changes? It's the note on the second string, right? It gets lowered a half step. The other notes stay the same, even though we shuffle our fingers around. And so we've identified where the third is in the chord. It's so important to know where your third is when you're messing around with chords and trying to come up with new chords. That third, I think of it as like having the most emotional power in your chord. The one is your foundation. It's the root note. It's like the basis on which the other chords notes are built, and it's kind of required to have in your chord to make it sound A-ish or C-ish or, you know, E flattish. But the third gives it its emotion, its happiness or sadness. And then the fifth is kind of extra that helps fatten it up, but it doesn't have as much character. Not all notes are created equal in your chord. And when people are like playing jazz chords and they've got all these different notes they want to put together, if they don't have enough fingers to grab them all, guess which one is the first one to go? The fifth. It's like, you know, no one wants the fifth there, except the people who play power chords. That's just ones and fives, and they keep that in there just to fatten up their bass note. But they don't provide much harmonic content. So back to our A chord. Now we found where our third is. It's on the second string, second fret. And it's a major third, right? We know that this is an A major chord. If we load it down to the first fret, it would be a minor chord. So these are two notes side by side, the major third and the minor third. The notes that we suspend the chord with are neighbors of those two notes. So if we go one note to the north, in other words, one note higher on the fretboard, up to the third fret, now we have our A suspended 4. The 4 is a higher number, and it means we're going higher up in the A major scale to add this note. A suspended 4 is a 1-4-5 chord instead of a 1-3-5 chord. The chord spelling is 1-4-5. And so try just scooting your third finger or your pinky. I don't know how you're grabbing your A chord, but if you're using your first, second, and third fingers, anyway, whatever finger you're using on that second string, scoot it up one fret, and now you've got an A suspended 4. Hear that wonderful kind of floaty quality, that indeterminate, kind of tense quality a little bit. Tense in the sense that it wants to resolve back to the A major chord. And you can play around with doing an A suspended 4 and back to A again. It's a great thing to do, by the way, if you're chugging on an A chord for like 4 bars in a song and there isn't a lot of singing going on. You can fill in that space a little bit, do like a very simple fill just by suspending the chord and then going back to the A major chord. This is very common when you're playing solo rhythm guitar. Okay, now let's try A suspended 2. Remember, A suspended 2 is our neighbor to the south of our thirds. We've got our major third on the second fret, minor third on the first fret. The 2 is going to be 1 fret lower, which is the open second string. So now try strumming your A with an open second string. I love that chord. So interesting and mysterious. This is one of my all-time favorite chords. And like the suspended 4, it doesn't really sound happy or sad. It's kind of floaty again. So in review, we've got 4 notes now all lined up side by side that have to do with the emotional core of our chord. We've got our thirds, which sound dramatically different. The major third sounds happy. The minor third sounds sad. To most people, you may have a slightly different emotional reaction, but most people have that reaction. And then to the north of the major third, we have the suspended 4. To the south of the minor third, we have the second. And so on the A chord, all of those are accessible. On your D chord, all of those are accessible. If you know how to play a D minor, try doing your D and then D suspended 4 by putting your pinky down on the third string. on the 3rd fret, excuse me, your D minor has a note on the 1st string, 1st fret, which requires some finger swapping. And then the D suspended 2, you can go back to a normal D shape and then just lift your middle finger. There's the suspended 2. So again, every note in a row on the fretboard going from the suspended 4 to the major 3rd to the minor 3rd to the suspended 2. Now in other chords, this may be more challenging. Our E chord, for example, when you play an E minor, that minor 3rd is on an open string. You can't go lower than that. So you can't really play an E suspended 2 easily. You have to do it more as like a bar chord. But you can do a suspended 4 on an E chord by fretting the 3rd string 2nd fret. Isn't that pretty? You can like sneak your pinky in there to play that 3rd string 2nd fret to suspend your E chord. Most of our open cowboy chords can be suspended in that way. C's kind of a pain because it's got 2/3 in the voicing. So you have to like fret 2 different notes if you're going to try to suspend it. G's a little bit of a stretch. You got a lot of fingers tied up there. And so suspending the 2nd string requires you to shuffle your fingers around a little bit. So some of the other chords are a little more problematic, but A and D are like slam dunks. Very easy to suspend. Hey, I hope you liked this lesson. If you did, please click the like button. You can also subscribe to my channel. And if you really want the good stuff, become a member of Heartwood Guitar. You can click the link below to learn more. Hope to see you there. Take care.